You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly.
Hello and welcome to the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. Each week our team discusses news and events from this past week, as well as preview the week ahead, covering Mexico-based promotions and top independents, along with luchador-related news from throughout the United States. The Lucha Central Weekly Podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network on, you guessed it, luchacentral.com. This podcast and others are also available on all major podcast platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Podbay, and Speaker. I'm Miranda Morales, one of the co-hosts of the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast, and this is a team effort, so I'm going to bring in the rest of the team. Joining us first is the dashing one, Mr. Dusty Murphy. Dusty, how goes it?
Oh, it's going fantastic. How's it going for you, Miranda?
It is going really, really well. I am so excited that we got into the month of December, which is crazy to think.
I know.
And
yeah.
This is
almost over.
It's almost
in the home stretch.
God hope so.
We got Christmas coming up.
Yeah, so a lot. And, of course, a crazy week in wrestling that we will definitely be covering. And in order to do that, we got to bring in the third person of this trio. Who? That is Brendan Barr. Brendan, how's it going?
It's me. Oh,
it's me.
I'm doing so good. We were talking about this off air, but like all of the crazy news that was happening, there was so much good news in the world of wrestling yesterday, and then things going on in other parts of my life that are fun and happy. I'm just in a super flying in the air kind of mood. So.
Oh, very cool. For a second, I thought you were going to say you were feeling Superfly, and I was like, damn,
nope,
that is
nope.
cool. Yeah.
That's why I had to stop and correct.
I wish I was feeling Superfly.
Right.
I have not reached that level yet.
Superfly, good. Damn.
I have not reached that level yet. Not yet.
No.
That is still on the achievement chart for me to get to.
Well, Dusty, you mentioned it. We are, hitting the end of the year. We're close to Christmas time. We just got out of the Thanksgiving holiday season and jumping into Christmas, which means this is now the prime time for shopping. We just saw a lot of Black Friday and holiday shopping deals over the past week, including some announcements from Mass Republic that their t-shirt line with the Lucha Brothers and some of other luchadors, Legends of Lucha Libre, that they finally hit Hot Topic stores throughout the U.S.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
If you guys check out Mass Republic on social media, you can find a list of all of the Hot Topic stores that the Legends of Lucha Libre and Mass Republic t-shirts are at. Of course, they are on HotTopic.com as well. But, now you can utilize a lot of those great deals, both online and in store, to get yourself some good Mass Republic Legends of Lucha Libre merch.
Yeah, some incredible stuff. There's a Lucha Bro shirt that is just amazing, just
it's
fantastic.
All the three designs they've shown me that they have in stores are just all fire, and I just want to go pick them up. Unfortunately for me, the I'm going to name drop here for people in Washington. It's all the way in Linwood, which is not really close to where I'm at. So
I feel you.
But I said this on Twitter. This is an important step for Mass Republic. Like, I usually recommend shopping small, but by going to Hot Topic and buying these, you're saying that you want this Lucha Libre merch. And I mean, as much as I'm not going to slam any other companies, but as much units as they move of that other stuff, that's who they're competing against. So, vote with your dollar, buy some Lucha merch out of the Hot Topics, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, with the previous AEW stuff, or I think it was just even Elite stuff at that time, even though my local Hot Topic wasn't listed and the one in Wichita was, they had it at my local. And this, like Wichita is like 3 hours from me. It's listed as being there, but hopefully I'm going to call up there one day this week, see if they can give me some curbside pickup on them if they got them. I'm excited to get one. Yeah.
Do it up.
Yes, no, good point. Sometimes just checking out your local store, they may have that, or just going to a nearby one. I know in Arizona there was multiple places listed: Phoenix, Mesa, Sierra Vista somehow got one, but we didn't get one in Tucson. But that's okay, because I will probably order it online. Because there's always usually some good promo codes too online.
Yeah, especially this time of year.
Yeah, and to what Brendan mentioned too, I mean, they're being sold at a chain store like Hot Topic, but you are supporting a small business in Mass Republic by purchasing them. So, that is kind of the roundabout way that you still get to support a small business in Mass Republic by buying them the merchandise through Hot Topic. So, and you get to show that there is an audience for that, and then hopefully that means they carry that for a while. So
it's easy to forget now, but a lot of what really snowballed the elite guys was when they got those shirts in Hot Topic, and the finances and everything there showed the interest in these guys, and it kind of led to All In and everything. So it's very important to go out and actually buy these in the store, because it shows that there's a profitability in these guys and in Mass Republic, and it's a bigger deal than you'd think.
Yeah. So,
however, in the interest of fairness, because I've been pushing this on Twitter all week, support the wrestling schools too. So Pro Wrestling Revolution has Lucha Des Mass, which we've talked about before.
Yes. Yeah.
And then also, Santino Brothers had a big sale, which included tuition. So like, this is the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's very cool.
So, if you really want to support the grassroots of it, support the schools. I cannot stress that enough.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I just have to do a cheap plug. Several weeks ago, we talked about the Marvel Lucha Libre partnership that we're going to be seeing. And I did also see the fashion line that was coming out in partnership with Josefina. As soon as Brendan sent me the link to that, I went and ordered, and I got my items this week.
Oh, that's so cool.
Very cool tops. I believe in a future episode one day when we do a video streaming, I will probably show that off to you guys and our audience, because they are very, very cool. I really liked them, and they, it's such a cool blend of Marvel and Lucha Libre, but very cool prints and fashion. So yes, I'm very excited that came in too. So this is truly a season for the holidays, for shopping. I'm sure many of us will be broke come December 26th, 27th, even before the new year. But
yeah, did you order yours from Amazon Mexico?
No, I actually ordered it directly from the Josefina website.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, lots of options then.
Luckily, they accepted PayPal, so that was able to help in the conversion of peso.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And the website actually automatically does that. It recognizes that once you are visiting the website from the United States, it will convert the prices from pesos to U.S. dollars.
That threw me off at first, but I managed to save myself from overspending by not.
Right?
Oh, $200, that's no big deal. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. That's dollars, not pesos. It's happened to me with buying some masks. Yeah, like when you figure out the pesos and everything, I almost sent $2,200 to a maker. And I was like, it's the last minute I caught it, and I was like, so glad.
Man. Well, the lessons that you learn. But yes, I mean, it is a season, so don't forget, everyone, go to lucha-masks.com, hottopic.com. You can still check out the Marvel partnership with AAA and Lucha Libre in the Josefina website. I unfortunately don't have it on me, but you can find it, and apparently on Amazon Mexico. So those are just a few of our suggestions. We'll be interested in getting to know all of yours. Let us know through social media. What are some things that you're shopping for this holiday season, especially if there's some special lucha gear, lucha attire, lucha merchandise that you have an eye out for. Also, Ty Valkyrie's line, Loca by Ty Valkyrie, just launched their winter line of lots of great sweatsuits.
Oh my gosh, those sweatsuits are incredible. The red, white, and blue one, so good.
Not gonna have any money at the
Oh, I know, so broke.
That's the
so
way
much
that
good stuff. More than ever, there is more lucha merchandise than ever. There is more high quality lucha merchandise than ever, and the accessibility of lucha merchandise is easier than ever. And it's easy to kind of forget that too, but that's largely due to Masked Republic and Kevin Kleinrock. He has really been a champion of merchandising Lucha Libre products, and that opened the door for a lot of this. And just, when I was in high school, the amount of things you could get was very small, negligible, and almost everything you got was kind of somebody made it, but now there's everything, anything my son wants with the luchador on it, he can just get on eBay or Amazon Mexico. He looks it up, he finds it. They have the coolest stuff. You can order it, gets sent right to your house. The availability of lucha merchandise in your home is so immediate and impressive because the selection is better than it has ever been.
Yeah, it's very true.
Very great. Well, speaking of good stuff, we are going to kick off our new segments with the road back to shows with Brendan.
Awesome. So after all of this excitement and teasing good news, we're going to start off with reminding you that Mexico City is still orange.
Yeah.
There is some severe implications that could happen with TripleMania, but we will bring that up later when we're talking about AAA. Mm-hmm. Mexico City is still orange. If I have done my math correct, they will be reviewing that status as of Friday, or the day that this will be going out. So the only way I expect it to move would be up, and I really hope that's not happening, because if they go back to red, it could get really ugly. But as further proof that things are crazy with the news this week, we're only talking about this just on the road back to shows. ROH has started announcing matches for Final Battle, where all of the titles will be defended, which means that all of the ungovernable faction will be are supposed to be present. But the only match that as of this recording that we have confirmed is Rush will be defending the title against Brody King, who he got the endorsement from Brody King got the endorsement from Masked Republic on Twitter earlier this week, mentioning
very cool.
He is a lucha trained because he is a Santino Brothers graduate. Giant man. So if you are looking for
he is a giant.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a good lucha style matchup of two really big strong guys, if that's your jam, this is going to be the match to watch, because that's two guys at the top of their game that meet those qualifications.
defending all the titles too also opens up a lot of the speculation that had already been going on about their destination and their contracts and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got the whole Ingobernable faction, you have Dragon Lee, you have Roosh, you have Flamita is there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see where these guys go and where they go from here, especially given their kind of connections with New Japan and everything. And, it's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be something to watch if you have interest in the backstage goings on.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't pay to watch this pay-per-view, which, I mean, I don't know what you're doing with your, you're probably saving your money for all these awesome Christmas presents you gotta do.
Yeah.
But, even if you don't get to see the matches, seeing how they come out is going to be a huge part of the drama and excitement, because that's going to lead to a lot of more stories and speculation as to where people are going.
Yeah.
And
it is going to be available on pay-per-view and through the Honor Club app. So you can even, purchase that Honor Club app and still end up saving a good amount of money because you get all that extra content as well.
Yeah.
So
including the backlog of all of their shows, which is so good.
Yes.
Yeah,
and that is scheduled. Final Battle is scheduled for December 18th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So just a few weeks away.
Yeah, you got time. Maybe sell some stuff on eBay. Sell some of those action figures that are sitting in the back of your room. And then more exciting match news. Mas Lucha, the premium YouTube channel. So those of you that are keeping track of what Brendan's spending his money on, I'm officially going to be switching over to the premium channel based on this announcement alone. They're going to have a Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Mascara 2000 Jr. in a hair versus hair match.
Yes, all that.
On the 6th. So, that will be, if you're listening to this as this comes out fresh, you will have time to catch that, but not much. So, but if you are part of the premium channel, you'll probably be able to get it anytime you want. Just know that I'm probably going to spoil it for you on Twitter. And then I'm going to unfortunately bring us back down a little bit. The other big story as far as the road back to shows is a number of shows, as COVID has spiked in so many areas, have decided that it is in their best interest to close. There was an Auto Lucha show that was going to be in Querétaro. DTU show got pulled, which is making people speculate about other shows that they have on their calendar. A couple more smaller ones out in the counties and all of that. So again, I always want to thank these organizations for looking out for the health of their talent and the fans and everyone involved by not having the shows. I know it's a hard choice. I know, especially for these smaller indies, that can mean the difference between, being able to eat well and have a neat top ramen. And I feel for you. Trust me, I do. But I also would feel much worse if I knew we were still spreading COVID around. So thank you for doing that. And all right, so that's where we're at on the road back to shows this week. We will, as I mentioned, we will be talking about TripleMania later in the show. It will have its own thing, but that is the next big event that will be happening in Lucha. So stick around towards the end of the show. There's lots more on the road to shows later.
Mm-hmm. And then with that, we have the Indie Roundup, which is pretty plentiful this week as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had our first submission, and I was super excited to see this. I will apologize on the air for not having actually on my own put you on there, because I have known about Coastal Championship Wrestling for a little while. They're out of Florida. They have a very robust YouTube channel, and they have their own show that they call a live, which is a 20 to 30 minute show that they put out once a week, mostly.
Okay.
And that features 2 or 3 matches and some interviews, so it's always pretty good. They are associated with a school, so sometimes you're going to see younger, up-and-coming talent you haven't ever seen. But they also have matches with Blue Demon on there. The one that I chose had Super Crazy,
Wow.
they've got all
Yeah.
kinds of lucha talent on there.
Huh.
One of their featured matches that they showed from one of their live events, so they don't show all of their live events, but sometimes they'll show highlights, is Blue Demon wrestling Hijo de Trump. So I think
Yeah,
people
I'll
have
have to
seen,
check that out.
yeah, oh, it's fun.
It sounds fun. I love fun
Yeah,
wrestling.
and for those of you who don't know who portrays Hijo de Trump, it is Eli Drake, so it is
Yeah.
hilarious. But so all in all, very, very good stuff. They had a live event called Lucha Mania that they keep alluding to, but I can't find a lot of footage yet. So maybe if I put you on notice by mentioning that on the air, we can get some footage sent to us, and I can talk about that too. Back to kind of our normal stuff. IWRG once again had another event, and they had they had an opening match that was scheduled to have Commander on it, but he didn't make it. There's lots of people speculating like he might have been double booked. It's nothing about health issues, but instead you got Dick Angelo 3G replacing him in the opener against Chef Benito. There's a 6-person tag with Mexica Relampago Veneno against Estrella Divina Carui and Tiago. Mexica Relampago and Veneno came out on top on that. The Tiger and Toxin, who I believe I've talked about quite a bit on IWRG, had a match, and this was wound up setting up a title match for the Tiger, who wound up coming out on top on this one. Baby Extreme and Sobredosis had a match as part of their IWRG Intercontinental Light tournament. Baby Extreme managed to advance on that one and will be facing Puma de Oro, which should be a barn burner. So if you're paying for the service like I am now, so I get to see this, that match alone should be worth the price of admission. We had a match with Jesse Ventura and Passion Crystal against Big Chico Che and Big Ovette, so the 2 giant people against Jesse Ventura and Passion Crystal. And surprisingly, Jesse Ventura and Passion Crystal managed to pull out the win on that.
Oh, very cool. Sounds like a fun match.
Yeah, I haven't seen the highlights on that one yet, but that's my big follow up right there. I've made some checkpoints on these notes that I need to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Our main event was Hijo de Canis Lupus, Hijo de la Brige, against Demonio Infernal, Fresario Jr., and Hijo del Espectro and Supernova. I'm sorry. Okay, I need to do better on this. Hijo de Canis Lupus, Hijo de la Brige, Demonio Inferno Fresario Jr. and Hijo del Espectro Jr. and Supernova and there it is. Fuerza Guerrera and Nueva Generation and Puma King. I fooled myself by putting my notes about which Fuerza Guerrera was in the wrong place. This was a 4-way tag match but it was kind of it was a Relevos Incredibles sort of thing where you have pairs you don't normally see. That's why you would have Demono, Infernal, and Fresario Jr. there, where normally they're kind of not getting along, and Hijo de Canis Lupus and Hijo de la Brige, same sort of deal. But Hijo de Canis Lupus and Hijo de la Brige came out on top on this one. Again, I was all there to see Hijo de Spectro Jr. do a running destroyer and seeing who would betray who. So this is another IWRG has been really kind of putting up big, nice, fun matches here, and I'm so excited that now I get to see them in non-clip form. So hopefully I will have a lot more to say about that soon. But
that would be very cool.
Yeah. Lucha Memes had a show. They also, this will be available on the Mas Lucha YouTube channel in full, but I believe we have results on Lucha Central as well, because this was the Negro Navarro tribute show. So surprisingly, and I know this is going to throw some people off, all of these matches ended in submissions.
Oh.
So,
wow,
yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
right.
Was it a gimmick card or was it just coincidence?
Well, I mean, I'm going to, I know we pull the curtain back a lot and talk about behind the scenes stuff, but, I'm going to say that it was probably set up that way because of Negro Navarro, but, I mean, in the interest of keeping some illusion alive, maybe they all wanted to finish with a submission as their own way of making it more about Negro Navarro. So who knows? Right? No, we know.
Yeah.
We know.
Tribute to the man.
So they had 7 matches. We started with Pero de Guerrero Jr. against Belial. Pero de Guerrero Jr. won. We had Avisman and Energia in a match where not only did it end in a submission, but Cubs fan reported that money was thrown into the ring. So
yeah, the benchmark equality right there.
Yeah, if a Mexican crowd throws money into the ring and it's not coins that they're trying to kill somebody with, it was a really good match. So I'm excited to try and find footage of that. That was Avisman winning over Energia. Judas El Traidor and Tromba had a match. Tromba was a last minute replacement. Judas El Traidor came out on top on that. Black Terry beat Aramis, which again, that sounds like a great one. I really want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Aries beat one half of the Traumas, Trauma 2. Mr. Electro beat Ricky Marvin. And in the main event, you had Arrow Boy and Solar against Dr. Cerebro and Negro Navarro.
Oh, wow. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And surprisingly, based on the theme of the show and all of and the history of Negro Navarro, the Solar managed to lock somebody up for the win. So
very cool.
Yeah. This is a Lucha Memes show from 11/29 for those of you that are going to go looking for footage of it.
Crazy that Solar got the win. Yeah, that he beat Negro Navarro. Wow. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, like, it surprises me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little surprising, which makes it that much more interesting to me, even knowing the result. I really want to see this card now. Like,
me too. Yeah, like it makes it sound special, and you know what I mean? Like that's, I mean, yeah, very cool.
And then my last one for today is Without a Cause Wrestling up here in Washington. We do, as I've mentioned a few times, have a lucha school. So they often will feature luchador wrestlers on here. They've been doing a series of shows called Without a Crowd because of the COVID situation, and for the first time, Sonico was in a match against Jacob, and this time it was against Jacob Oso. So Sonico is not going to be a familiar name to a lot of people, but he's not just local to the region. He was touring last summer in Pro Wrestling Noah, along with Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. and Alex Hammerstone. I don't know why I was stumbling on his name. Maybe it was because I was afraid he was going to punch me if I said it wrong.
Hammerstone people. You just get really afraid of just messing up. Be like, this is the day I die.
He's a really nice guy, but he's still very scary to be standing next to. So, but anyway, so he has international experience. He's listed and traveled and worked with Super Crazy. So he is an up and coming luchador that people should be aware of. And so they put him in a match against Jacob Oso. It's a pretty good match. It's on the Max Wrestling Washington's YouTube and Twitch channel. I am not going to give away the ending on this one, but if you guys go check it out, that's supporting my local group, and they didn't ask me to do it, but this is what we do. If you've got lucha talent that I can support, we're gonna put out notices and let people watch this stuff. That's our indie roundup this week.
Very cool. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So even for those promotions that are not having shows, there are still a lot that are. So make sure you stay tuned to the Lucha Central Weekly podcast for more information on the road back to shows and, of course, the indie roundup. Up next, well, we're going to kick it off to Denise Salcedo, who brings us this week's Lucha Central.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch all of the great network content this week. Get the full lineup and listen to all of our shows in the podcast network section of luchacentral.com. On Tuesdays, Mats, and Mayhem takes you inside the world of Lucha Underground as they take you weekly through the series with the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of special guests from the groundbreaking series. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at luchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday. Tuesday nights live, it's Wrestle Boss, where Fabi Chulo talks MMA and pro wrestling with special guests and listener call-ins. Visit WrestleBossLive.com Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific to listen live or call in with questions or download the show on podcast platforms on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Special guests and a whole lot of fun make it one of the most talked about shows in Mexico. Thursdays, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez as they have guests from throughout the wrestling world pull up to give an inside look into their careers. From indie standouts to television superstars, each week brings a new name and perspective. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. Be sure to subscribe and follow all your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms, either by their own series name or subscribe to the Lucha Central Podcast Network show pages to get all of the shows in one easy feed. And please consider giving a rating to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central. Have a great week.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
As always, a huge thank you to Denise Salcedo, who brings us this week's Lucha Central, letting you know what's happening throughout the Lucha Central podcast network. Up next, though, I know you've missed it. Dusty's going to be giving us some news on what's been happening in WWE. We had Survivor Series, SmackDown, Raw. So, Dusty, break it down for us.
Yeah, well, even though we had a couple of weeks and we had all of that, there's still not a whole lot for me to mention to you. On the Survivor Series, on the free pre-show, they had a battle royale before the actual show, just the pre-show. And like pretty much the entirety of the Lucha presence on the WWE roster was there. We had Rey Mysterio, we had Dominic Mysterio, Kalisto, and Angel Garza, who has a new haircut. He looked fantastic, but they were all in the match, mostly for naught. But Dominic made it almost all the way to the end. He and Chad Gable were what appeared to be the final two. It was kind of fantastic, honestly. They had a really great sequence between the two of them, between Chad and Dominic, and it looked like Dominic had won and had a really great moment. But unfortunately, The Miz, he was that snake in the grass, and he had gone under the bottom rope, not over the top rope, so he came back in, snatched the victory from Dominic at the last moment. Like, I legitimately felt anger at Miz's heel work in this match, and I love him for it. It was really cool seeing Dominic with Chad Gable. I love that pairing. You know, Dominic's still pretty new, but somebody like Chad Gable could really teach him a lot of things, especially with Dominic's size, you know, and so that was very cool to see that interaction, and I hope that, you know, they get to work together a little more in the future. I would like to see that dynamic be explored a little further. And then we had Raw, and this week on Raw, you know, like there just wasn't much otherwise, but we had Raw, and during the Symphony of Destruction match between Elias and Jeff Hardy, R-Truth jumped out of the piano. Part of the chaos and confusion surrounding all of it, Lindsay and Grand Metalik were there. Lindsay got El Kabonged with the guitar and, you know, took a guitar bump, but otherwise, you know, nothing really to mention. Then we had SmackDown. We had the entire Mysterio family, but they were there ringside to support Murphy, so they didn't have much of a presence either. And he was wrestling Corbin. There's going to be a rematch this week, so I guess we can expect them to be ringside with Murphy again this week. But yeah, it's kind of a dry spell right now for Lucha Libre within WWE. It's a sad spot because they're supposed to be kind of like the global representation of wrestling, and, you know, we would at least like to see a match with luchadors in it, you know, but they haven't given us anything the last few weeks to mention.
They managed to stuff all of the lucha talent into that battle royal on the pay-per-view.
Lucha House Party were not in it, but they weren't on the pay-per-view period because I guess they're part of the 24/7 thing. And just the general lack of direction for the luchadors, including Rey Mysterio, is baffling to me. Like, Dominic should be wrestling every week to get more experience, more camera time. I mean, he needs that, and especially having skipped to the NXT. I know he did a lot of his training with Santino Brothers, and has trained with a lot of people apparently, to kind of get a well-rounded training, but he still needs that experience in the ring, on TV, working to the camera, that type of thing. And so I wish we could see some of it, Humberto Carrillo was in the Battle Royale too. I didn't mean to leave out Humberto. He was there too. He's an excellent luchador. But yeah, they have got all this talent. You've got Angel Garza. You've got, the Rey Mysterio. You've got Grand Metalik. We've mentioned it over and over. They just consistently waste talent, and there has just been nothing for Lucha fans in WWE lately, but hopefully that turns around soon. Maybe we'll get to see a stronger Lucha presence in the new year. I think part of the Rey Mysterio thing is Seth is out temporarily until Becky has the baby, so I think they're going to tread water until Royal Rumble, and when Seth comes back, and so we're looking for another 4 to 6 weeks of this, like the groundhog that saw its shadow.
Right. Hey, I talked about this off air, but I'm going to use some of our WWE time to say this now. If you are putting up a show onto the interwebs, maybe consider putting it up on Mondays now, because I need something else to watch.
Yeah, that's very, very fair. And this is a traditional time frame for the WWE where there's not a whole lot of storyline going on, that we'll probably see a big launch in the new year with the Royal Rumble and the Road to WrestleMania. But I agree exactly with what you said as far as, they do have an international audience, and the fact that they're not leveraging a lot of this talent. They have, 5 hours of content between Raw and SmackDown every week. And the fact that there isn't a bigger lucha presence on it. And we don't have to see it every week, but we haven't really seen it at all.
Yeah,
especially
for a few
since
weeks
the draft.
now.
Yeah, really, since the draft.
Yeah.
And WWE is supposed to be kind of like a global greatest hits of wrestling. It's not like the deep cuts and the stuff that you can really get into. It's the greatest hits. It's the kind of thing that people want to hear when they go to see something live. But people love that Lucha Libre. It needs to be represented. Lucha Libre is, so incredible and fantastic that it should not be a niche, especially when you consider the talent within WWE. The talent demands more attention than they're getting, and it's just sad. But hopefully, like you say, the Royal Rumble will set something up. Maybe we'll see something between The Miz and Dominic.
Yeah.
New stuff, hopefully.
I actually would like that storyline.
Yeah, and then that kind of naturally moves us from Monday night into Tuesday night. We have AEW. This is where we're getting a lot of lucha talent. We're getting a lot of things done right. We're getting a lot of stories told, room to breathe. On the 11/24 show, the week of Thanksgiving, we had TH2 defeating Garrison and Pillman Jr., we had Ivelisse and Diamante defeating Lady Frost and the Bionic Beast, Jenna. We had Sammy Guevara defeating Marco Stunt. We had Pretty Peter Avalon defeating Fuego del Sol. Dark Order defeating Chaos Project and Joey Janela, Sonny Kiss. But then in the match that I know we're going to want to talk about, we had Jurassic Express defeating the Panda Express in the Battle of the Expressness.
Wow.
And it was so fun. Like, I didn't know that I needed a 6-minute wrestling match of Luchasaurus wrestling 2 pandas, but I did. Super Panda is fantastic. He continues to be impressive. Ultimo Panda, though, was really the star of this match for me. I mean, if you remember our interview with Vinny, Ultimo Panda is a dick.
Yeah, that's what we've heard.
That's what he said. That's a direct quote.
Direct quote from Vinny Massaro.
Yes.
Yeah. But he had some comedy spots in the thing, like where he pretended. He got blown up running the rope. It was so funny. If you like comedy wrestling, you've got to check this out. If you like fun lucha, you've got to check this out. This was it. The Pandas as a tag team were great. Their outfits are wild. I love the mask. I love the whole thing. Really, really love the Pandas, and I hope we get to see more of them on AEW Dark. It's the perfect thing for them. They don't necessarily need to be on Dynamite, but Dark is perfect for them. I just love it. Great wrestling. And then, go ahead. Sorry.
I want to throw this out there because I want to stress this for other people too. A lot of what I saw when that match was up is a lot of people say, normally I'm not a fan of the comedy nonsense that AEW does, but I really like this match.
Yeah.
So it resonated with a lot of people.
I think it did.
They absolutely did it right. I can't, this was the match to discuss and the match to see. There were a lot of great matches on that particular Dark, but this was the one that I knew we had to discuss that talent and the depth and what these guys are capable. So many comedy matches are comedy because they don't have the ring ability to back it up, but these guys do. I mean, it really pays off, and the comedy is top notch. I mean, it was a great, great match. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Then
it's up for free on the
Yeah.
YouTube.
and it's free. You can check it out for free. It doesn't cost anything. That's my favorite price. Free. And
Save that money for all those T-shirts at Hot Topic.
Yeah, pay-per-views. Yeah.
Yeah, pay-per-views, masks, T-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially masks. That's where all my money went.
Yeah. And they really do pick a good day, Tuesday, because Dark has continued to grow every month, really. I mean, now it's grown into almost 3 hours.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours, 17 matches and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Every week they're putting on a pay-per-view length program. And it's surprisingly high quality. I assume at some point they'll spin it off into a more developed show, into a more developmental show, into two different things. But the hybrid right now is incredible. The experience and the ring time it gives guys on the way up and early guys is incredible.
What you're talking about there is actually a thing that Tony Khan said in an interview this week, is that he is looking at that exact formula where he's going to have he wants to split Dark into 2 shows, maybe change the name to one of them, and have one that is more focused on AEW talent that is ready to be on Dynamite, but they don't have enough time on Dynamite, and then have the other show be for people that aren't quite there but need that time in front of a camera. So
it's been incredible for that. And I know when I say 17 matches, you think, oh my gosh, that's a lot of wrestling. And we gave you the rundown. You know what matches you want to watch now if you go back to it. But you'd be surprised how easily watchable it is. Like, it's just kind of become part of my Tuesday night thing. I stay up a little late every Tuesday night and watch it. And I love it.
It's good. It's good stuff. You're right. It does flow, but it's also on YouTube. So you're not forced to sit and watch the whole thing.
That's the other beauty. You can pause it and come back to it. YouTube remembers where you left off. It's kind of awesome.
Or you can even, if you're watching it a little bit later, you can fast forward through some of it too.
Exactly. Yeah. I rarely watch it live. A little behind the curtain moment here, but we do our planning meeting during the airtime for Dark. So I always watch it after our planning meeting. Yeah. And you get the YouTube app on your TV now and watch it on TV. It's fantastic. And we had an episode this week as well on 12/1. Our first Lucha Concentric match was Stu Grayson and Evil Uno defeating Baron Black and Fuego del Sol. This was a surprisingly great match. Stu Grayson and Evil Uno have turned into one of the best tag teams in AEW that nobody talks about. They're really, really good. They get the teamwork and getting better every week too. It's incredible to see them. But despite all the love that we have for Fuego, we love him. We talk about him all the time. Commentary had a lot of love for Fuego. They talk about him all the time. Dark Order, like I mentioned, still one of the best tag teams in the world with Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, and they got the pin on this one. But great match. Then we had Chaos Project versus Alex Chamberlain and Seth Gargis. This was a really fun match. It was interesting, had a lot of cool offense. I will never get tired of seeing Luther throw Serpentico at people. That's one of my favorite offensive things. We got that in this match. I loved seeing that. And just so cool. Then we had a 3-way tag team match between Dark Order, the Jurassic Express, and Sunny Kiss with Joey Janela. Awesome match again. There was a lot of high-flying action, and Jungle Boy was clearly the star of this bout. He had an amazing destroyer in the match, and then he got the win for Lucha Express with an assisted power bomb. And then I saved my favorite for last, Lindsay Snow, the American Kaiju versus Ivelisse. Taz said it on commentary, and I have to repeat it. These are two tough women. The
Yeah.
strikes and the kicks were so intense, so tough. Ivelisse hit a front face kick for the win, and she literally looks like the toughest badass in all of AEW. Like, I don't think there's anybody that looks tougher than Ivelisse in AEW. And she just continues to be a highlight of AEW Dark and a highlight of their
Yeah.
women's division. I cannot get enough. I want to see Lindsay Snow versus Ivelisse again. Like, these women are incredible. And everything Lindsay Snow has done, she's only had a couple of matches, but they have just been fantastic. She has been better than gold. She's been platinum on AEW Dark. I'm so excited for her to get this opportunity, and I hope to see her in more high-profile matches, you know, maybe even as part of a women's faction to kind of take on Britt Baker, you know.
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa needs somebody to keep Rebel back. And
I was going to say, I mean, you talk about anyone tougher. I think there is someone else who's looking just as tough as Lindsay Snow, someone that she's faced before, not only in the independent scene, but on, and that's Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they are the two toughest in AEW, hands down. Like, and I am so, well, I guess Thunder Rosa's, you know, in NWA, but still.
Technically.
Yeah.
We still don't know what those inner workings are.
I mean, but they also had Layla this week looking extra tough too. So they've really their women's division has like almost overnight transformed into something that is in the conversation for what you need to watch for women's wrestling.
Absolutely. The legitimacy. And that rolls us naturally into Dynamite. The first kind of thing is that we got an announcement that next week on Dynamite we will have Lance Archer and the Lucha Bros versus Eddie Kingston's family. That's Eddie with Butcher and Blade in a trios match. So that's exciting. But on this week's show, first we had the Young Bucks being interviewed by Marvez, and they were just acting like dicks. They reminded Marvez that they kicked him in the face. And they were fighting TH2 next week, but TH2 aren't real champions. I'm doing the air quotes. Can't see. They're not real champions, but if they beat the Bucks will give them a shot at the gold. But then the Acclaimed came out with a copy of the Young Bucks autobiography, and they dropped a freestyle to make some allegations about the sexual dynamic between the Bucks. And that caused enough distraction that TH2 came in and beat the Bucks down. They literally stomped them and threw one of them in the trash can. It was awesome. And Helico and Jack Evans both looked brutal and capable and just bloodthirsty, and I loved it. And the Acclaim loved it too. They were dunking on the Bucks the whole time with instarts and with insults. Yeah, World Star.
I hadn't heard that in a minute.
It was so cool. Yeah, it took me straight back to 2010. But then SCU, Christopher Daniels came in with the chair. He made the save for the Bucks. But this is getting really good, and I am all here for this. Like, it was so exciting. Later, we had my favorite AEW women's wrestler right now, Dr. Britt Baker, taking on Layla Hirsch in a great match that showed Hirsch's collegiate wrestling skills and her legitimateness, as we were discussing. But it still wasn't enough for the Doctor. After picking up the win and getting the lockjaw submission finisher, that's when my favorite NWA women's wrestler, Thunder Rosa, ran in, and she just cut loose on Britt Baker. And, I mean, it was incredible. They fought for a good couple of minutes, closed fists, just went wild on each other. And the refs came in. It legitimately took more refs to keep them apart than it did for Pac and Eddie Kingston a couple weeks ago. It felt really personal and crazy. Rebel got in some amazing stiff elbows on Thunder Rosa, and everything, all hell broke loose again. I'm just here for this match and here for these women. It was so good. I want this feud right now. Like, I love it. And then we had some kind of other interesting information. After AAA Mega Campeon Kenny Omega won the AEW World title from Jon Moxley, we had an interesting moment where he and Don Callis literally ran all the way to a waiting SUV, and Callis basically said, "See you next Tuesday at Impact on Access TV." It was interesting. It was groundbreaking. It was unprecedented. We'll get to it a little bit later. Taya had some interaction. We'll mention that during the Impact section. Taya had some interaction with Kenny Omega about that, but it opens up some interesting implications for Kenny being the AEW champion and having that AAA Mega Campeon Championship match at TripleMania with Laredo Kid, because, there's a lot of politics and dynamics that go into being the champion. A lot of people don't like their champion to lose, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But in all of these, there's been a larger social media presence helping build a lot of this. And especially between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, we've seen some of the nastiest back and forth we've seen in wrestling, maybe ever, but definitely in a long, long time. Britt Baker basically said, stop faking your own internet buzz and go back to wrestling on the internet. You're not half the star you think you are, and you don't have half the face for TV. Like, oh my God, that is,
He's coming out punching.
I mean, can you imagine?
And
that
saying
is
that to Thunder
just
Rosa, who is very direct in her communication, and she's been spitting some stuff out as well. I just got this, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm an Attitude Era child. But when she came out and started beating on Britt Baker, I got some clear Stone Cold vibes from her.
100%.
This is if there is a female. I know a lot of times people talked about Becky Lynch being the female Stone Cold for a while I could see it, but now truly, I feel like it's Thunder Rosa.
It's Thunder Rosa. I absolutely believe that. And Rosa 316 says, I just whipped Britt Baker's ass. But yeah, it was incredible. And then Rosa, of course, she had a reply, and she said, Britt, the interesting thing is I did more than you with a 1 minute promo in your company than you've done the whole year you've been there. Keep on trolling me, Cabrona, because I have poopos for you too.
And that's true, though. Yeah,
that's what makes the so interesting, is that all they're really doing is just telling the truth.
And it is so good.
Fact.
The layers of truth and directness and the fourth dimension thing that social media has brought into wrestling. They have really captured this in a way that nobody else has, I feel like. And Becky Lynch was great at social media, but Thunder Rosa takes it to the next level. And I love everything she does, so I am all excited for this, and I hope we get to see more of this. I think it's building to the pay-per-view. I believe it's in January, but man, I don't know the last time I wanted a match this bad. This is the match I'm most hyped for. Men, women, lucha, American wrestling, everything. I am hyped for Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, because these women are going to go hard. We know Britt Baker's not afraid to bleed. We know Thunder Rosa's not afraid to bleed. They're both very tough. I cannot wait. They both had intergender matches. These are two tough women. Britt doesn't look as tough as she is. I hope we get to see that side of her in the heel, the more submission-based, predator-style wrestling that she's capable of. So, exciting days ahead for AEW.
Oh, and Impact. So we will.
Yes, and Impact. We'll tie back to that in the Impact segment. And Kenny and Taya, so cool.
Yes. Yeah, last night AEW definitely did the mic drop. This isn't necessarily lucha related, but Sting came back.
Sting! That's so cool. Like, I was a WCW kid. Seeing Sting come back with Tony Schiavone announcing, it hit me right in the heart. That's the kind of thing, and it was a surprise to me, and it's the kind of thing that you cannot explain. You have to live, but it brought back the teenager in me 100%, and I loved it.
Man, yeah. Well, there was another show that happened yesterday.
Yeah, there was.
Dang, I have to say AEW stole a lot of the thunder yesterday. But NXT, still happening, and War Games is happening this Sunday as well. So this was the go home show.
Oh, I'm so
for War
excited.
Games.
Talk
Man.
about WCW. Yeah.
We could do it all in our
I'm all
little
in.
hearts. God, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely very much of a WCW reminiscent week for anybody who missed WCW. This is a good week for you.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So this week's episode started with a tag match between Leon Ruff and Damian Priest versus Santos Escobar and Raul Mendoza. Now this was an interesting match because originally Damian Priest was not supposed to be in this match. It was actually supposed to be a match with Kurt Stallion. This was going to be his original or his debut for NXT. But he was attacked by Legado del Fantasma prior to the match, and Damian Priest stepped up to become Leon Ruff's partner. And so the match started with Leon and Santos, and actually Damian Priest was very reluctant to have Leon start. So he reluctantly had him start, and then you had Santos taking Ruff to the ground and kind of gloating over after him, kind of thinking, this is your North American champion? Nah.
Yeah.
And shortly afterwards, Raul Mendoza gets tagged in, and though eventually Leon Ruff took him down with a drop kick. From there, though, Santos gets back in and just has a beautiful knee to the face of Leon that just sends him hurling back. And just when you think we're going to see Santos and Damian Priest in the ring, Santos tags out, and we have Damian and Raul Mendoza. Damian uses his size. I mean, literally, Damian Priest is huge man in this match.
Yeah, he's humongous.
And he had a beautiful spinning shoulder block to Raul Mendoza. The action goes outside of the ring, and this is when things get a little quirky. And usually this is where Legado del Fantasma takes the advantage. However, what ended up distracting Damian Priest was two individuals in ghost face masks in the crowd. So this is part of a storyline that he's been having with Johnny Gargano with the ghost face masks, these people behind these masks supporting Johnny and Candice LeRae. So that distracted Priest just enough for Raul and Santos to get the advantage. Back in the ring, we had Santos and Damian Priest, and really this is where they start breaking down the height advantage of Damian Priest. Both Santos and Raul tag in and out, doing leg locks and really trying to do damage to the leg of Damian Priest, cutting him down literally. However, Damian Priest is able to drag himself back to the corner and tag Leon Ruff back in, and he has a series of quick maneuvers in order to get the advantage back on his side. Damian Priest tags back in, and we're about to get the reckoning. However, Leon Ruff does a sneak tag, and from there does a big splash on Raul Mendoza for the win. So a loss for Legado del Fantasma. But this really, I think, was just more setting the stage for what we're going to see this weekend at War Games with the North American Championship. It's always great to see Legado del Fantasma in a match, and again, this one was kind of an interesting piecemeal, but it was a really great match overall to start the show. And again, this really looks like it's just more of a way to set things up for this weekend. And I'll go over the full card in a little bit. But after that, our main event for the night was something else. We had a ladder match between Shotzi Blackheart and Raquel Gonzalez to determine the advantage for War Games. So we do have Team Shotzi versus Team Candice LeRae, and both women representing their teams in this match, their two teams. And this was a great a great ladder match. So, Shotzi starts off by, being Shotzi, going with rapid movements to try to throw Raquel Gonzalez off her game. However, Raquel has a very obvious size advantage, and so she was starting to use that to keep Shotzi off her feet. And from there, Raquel was the first one to try and bring a ladder into the ring. However, that was just the distraction that Shotzi needed in order to get some offense, including a beautiful kick through the middle rope to the ladder that ended up hitting Raquel right in the face. And really throughout this match, Shotzi is just being the Shotzi that we know and love, kind of reckless, a beautiful reckless, but very concentrated in her work. And the fact that the ladders were around only excelled some of her movements. And there was a pretty big, though, massive spot where Raquel picked up Shotzi and hard onto the ladder. But soon after, Shotzi came back into the ring. A beautiful spot as well, showing Raquel's strength. Raquel carried Shotzi on her back, rolling outside of the ring, climbing up the stairs until she rammed her into not the barricade, but the steel post, and then out to the barricade. But Shotzi took advantage of a literal misstep where Raquel's leg literally gets her foot stuck in the ladder. She swings it into the steel steps, bringing Raquel down to her knees. And then just some continued great spots. Raquel using her size and really being so tall with those legs, kicking Shotzi into the steel steps to make sure that she doesn't get back up. But ultimately, the highlight of this match is kind of the chaos that happened at the end. The women from Team Candice LeRae got assistance from Indy Hartwell to get down from their location on set. They were up in this huge tower so that they couldn't interfere, but Indy Hartwell came with a ladder and all of the team came down to help Raquel out and cause a distraction. But then Team Shotzi came down as well with Ember Moon and Rhea Ripley. Enough to cause a distraction so that we can find out the fourth member of Team Shotzi, who is none other than Io Shirai. She made a beautiful jump off the top rope onto the back of Raquel Gonzalez to prevent her from climbing up the ladder. Then, as always, a magnificent moonsault into a huge crowd of pretty much everybody in the match, including security, everyone in the match. Long enough for Shotzi to climb the ladder, get the briefcase, and have the advantage. And this is pretty big because this is the first time a babyface team has ever won the advantage for War Games. So, really fun match. And again, the women in NXT are just killing it. So, for War Games this weekend, we do have Team Shotzi, which consists of Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai, versus Team Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Toni Storm.
This is the first time I'm rooting for the heels.
Oh, I am so excited for this match, and I love Toni Storm. This is going to be.
Normally, NXT War Games, they do such a good job with the story that I'm all in and I'm on Team Babyface. But I mean that heel team is something else.
Good.
It really is. But I also love the fact that this is Shotzi and Candice's team. It could have easily been Rhea's team. Could have easily been Rio's team.
Absolutely.
But the fact that this is Team Shotzi shows that the company is putting that faith in her, and I think she's going to be fantastic. And we talk about her style. She's just like a human cannibal. She's reckless. She puts her body on the line on a regular basis. I think this is going to be a career-defining match for her with her style of wrestling in this format. It's going to be something else.
Absolutely. I am so stoked to see this match. Again, if you don't want spoilers, stay away from me on Twitter while that match is going on. Because I'm not going to be able to keep my mouth shut.
Yes. It's gonna be good. And just real quick, the rest of the card, not very big. We do have Leon Ruff versus Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest in a triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso Ciampa, Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes in a strap match, and then the men's War Game match is the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Bobby Fish versus Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, and Danny Burch. So a great card. Not very many matches, but again, you have 2 War Games matches happening. So I think that's going to take a lot of the air out of the
Yeah.
But my money and my interest is really on the women's War Games.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is going to be, so insane. I am so hyped for that match.
Yeah,
I'm a Rudo at heart always, but yeah, like Brendan said, for all these reasons, I'm just so into the heel team. But
yeah, and again, I think too, Raquel Gonzalez is consistently
oh my
improving,
gosh, she is so
great.
impressive, and her size
Yes.
just makes her look like a beast.
Yeah,
Like
so I'm very interested to see what she does in this match too, because she'll really be able to use that cage and those 2 rings for some really great spots. I foresee her really doing kind of almost like a throwing choke slam, maybe throwing, say, a Shotzi. And I imagine Shotzi being like, I'll do it, just chucking her into her group of her teammates and kind of crazy things like that. So
you guys are taking all of the stuff I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about I had all these notes about how Raquel can do so much damage in this, and I mean I talk about it on Twitter, I talk about it on the show. Raquel, she's one of the ones I'm excited to watch because the moment I laid eyes on her, I knew she was going to be a star. It's just a question of when, and with this push that they're giving her and this match in particular, this could be the moment where she goes to that next level.
Yeah. Well, we will just have to see this Sunday. That is December 6th. NXT WWE presents War Games. So, you know that we're going to be talking about it during next week's show. So make sure you tune back in. Real quick though, we do have an MLW update. We are now in week 3 of the restart, and they set up last week we had the first round of the 2020 Opera Cup tournament. And that again, this is really great. So I highly recommend it. I mean, MLW is really turning to be a pro wrestling fan, a pro wrestling show, really focusing on all elements of wrestling more than the entertainment side. So as, Brendan mentioned, even though it's not on Mondays, if you're looking for a different wrestling product,
it's on Wednesdays, but it's on before the other stuff goes on. So you have time to watch it, or it's something you can catch up later in the night if that's what, depending on what you're doing. If you're on the West Coast, you have time after the other stuff goes off the air to watch it before you go to bed.
Yeah, I always watch it in the afternoon. So yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I come home, watch it. I love it. It's just perfect timing for me.
Yeah. I did want to throw in some props to the MLW team as well. I said this on Twitter. They had a couple of big matches with some big moves this week. And I commented on Court Bauer's Twitter that the cameramen were doing an exceedingly good job. And so you can see this in the match that you're probably about to talk about. You can see a couple of big spots. But Court said that they've been putting a big focus on the camera work and the technology being part of their storytelling. And so I really wanted to throw that out there, that this is, since we're talking about the wrestling product, and they are a thoroughbred wrestling company. This is not, there's no sports entertainment. There's no Panda Bears wrestling. I mean, I'll just
come out. You're not going to find Panda Bears on this promotion. I think some people would do anything else beyond that, which is the beauty of wrestling. There truly is a product out there for everyone.
Yes, there is.
Like
no matter what you like.
And your Luchasauruses. And all that, there's definitely a product out there for you. But if you are just a pure wrestling fan, just wrestling purist, MLW is just putting out amazing, amazing matches. The feel of them, and they're only putting about 2 to 3 matches an episode, so it's not a whole lot. I think actually the past 3 episodes have only had 2 matches each, and they have sprinkled a little bit of storytelling. We still see a bit of that rivalry and tension between Conan and Selena De La Renta. Contra Unit is still invading MLW television, so there's still some great storytelling happening, but the focus is truly on the wrestling. And with that, last week we had some first round matches for the 2020 Opera Cup. Tom Lawler beating Rocky Romero and Richard Holiday beating TJP. So those were kind of a little bit of surprises, I think, especially Richard Holiday beating TJP.
I was surprised by that one too.
Yes. But this week, this is really a Lucha fan's dream. We had ACH versus Laredo Kid. And this was a great match. Now, commentary really played up. I mean, ACH hasn't been wrestling in quite some time, but he's also gained, he was at least 20 pounds heavier than Laredo Kid. And so he had a definite size, both height and kind of bulk advantage in this, but both were very quick. The opening sequence between the two was amazing, and we did get to see Laredo Kid utilize some of that high-flying skill set throughout the match. It was just really really entertaining. It went almost, I think, 15 minutes. I mean, it was really
12 to 14, somewhere in there.
Oh, yeah, almost. And so it was really a really great match. ACH won with a brainbuster at the end, though. So I was a little surprised because of the hoopla that they had made with Laredo Kid that he didn't advance, especially ACH, who was just coming back into the scene. However, no fear for those who are Laredo Kid fans, because earlier this week, MLW had a media call with Court Bauer where he answered a series of questions. And one of the questions he was asked directly is, can we expect to see Laredo Kid again in MLW? In quote, he specifically said, yes, Laredo Kid is going to be in the mix on a regular basis. We may even see the AAA title defended. So the
Mega Campeon Championship.
Well, see, that's a good question, because he is currently the cruiserweight.
Cruiserweight.
He's the cruiserweight champion. However, he is going to be facing Kenny Omega at TripleMania for the Mega Campeon. So, that leaves a lot to look, because, as you said, you don't like your champions to lose. So you have Kenny Omega now, who's going to be showing up at Impact Wrestling next week, who is also the AAA Mega Campeon. Laredo Kid, who is your Cruiserweight champion, who's now going to be apparently regularly wrestling for MLW. And in a few weeks, we're going to see these two collide. And so is there a possibility that you have, because now Kenny Omega is the AEW champion, that maybe he will relinquish that championship, not relinquish, but lose, to Laredo Kid, and now you have Laredo Kid as a double champion wrestling in MLW? Or do we continue to see Kenny Omega as both the AEW and AAA Mega Campeon on AEW and possibly on Impact? It's a crazy world we live in, everybody. I don't know.
This is the new world of wrestling.
I know.
I was going to say that's to me, that's why Laredo Kid came up a little short in this. Like, if you want to talk about one of the busiest men in wrestling, that's him in the next 3 weeks. So a lot on his mind. Maybe he was looking ahead a little too much.
That's true. Yes, yeah. And again, I was a little surprised that he didn't advance into the Opera Cup semifinals, but you know what? That's all right. It does seem like we're going to continue to see Laredo Kid as a part of MLW and that partnership between MLW and AAA. So you know what? I'm not mad at it.
Nope.
And just as a heads up for those looking into the future weeks, it does look like we're going to see Tom Lawler versus ACH and Low Key versus Richard Holiday in the semifinals, and then on to the finals. So we're really having some interesting developments in the Opera Cup tournament. And speaking of entertainment, this is not something featured on Fusion on a weekly basis, but it is part of their YouTube channel, and that is Los Parks en la Cocina.
Yeah.
They had a special Thanksgiving edition where Los Parks came together to cook a special dish, which is pollo violada, which is what's called violated chicken. And for those of you who want to know why it's called violated chicken, well, you just have to go and check it out on YouTube. It involves a chicken and a can of beer.
I've had that.
Beer can chicken.
Yes. It's called beer can chicken, but Los Parks like to call it something a little bit different.
No,
a lot of
naughty.
the Contra unit during this as well. Pretty much relating the violated chicken to the Contra unit and how they're going to feel once Los Parks are done with Contra. So, some great content out there. And if anyone wants to learn how to make beer can chicken, aka pollo violada, then check out MLW's YouTube page and Los Parks en la Cocina. Check it out. I mean, he also adds the pendejos part, which that is something that is technically part of the title, but I don't want to offend anyone by calling anyone a pendejo, but that's part of the title.
I mentioned the title of the segment to one of my coworkers who is also about the same level of Spanish as me, but he was like, "So I'm confused. Does this mean they're calling other people names, or are they calling themselves the name?" Because
Yeah, no, there's actually a comma, all right, after Los Parks en la Cocina, pendejos, okay. So it does imply that, we are the pendejos.
Okay.
Yes. Good question. Very good question. Grammar does make all the difference. Yes, man. All right. Well, I mean, we've been talking about it enough throughout tonight's show, but we have a huge update with AAA and TripleMania. So, Dusty, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of news with AAA. And some lesser news this week in AAA. The Auto Lucha shows have been re-uploaded, and Brendan can kind of confirm this for me, but I believe it's just with the English chyrons at the bottom of the screen. That's the only change, but they've been re-uploaded recently onto YouTube. They were originally Facebook shows, but they're on YouTube now. I believe they've been re-uploaded on Facebook. So those are out there for anybody that wants to catch up on Auto Luchas. We have covered the cards on previous shows. I especially recommend the Dia de los Muertos card. I believe we covered that on episode 26. So you can go back and check that out. But our main news is TripleMania. We had our TripleMania press conference. And not only did we have our press conference, we have our card for TripleMania 28. And the lineup is opening match, trios match, will be Maximo, Mr. Iguana, and Nino Hamburguesa versus Carter Brava Jr., Mocha Cota Jr., and Tito Santana. Our second match will be a tag team title match with Lucha Bros, Phoenix, and Pentagon Jr. He's specifically listed as Pentagon Jr. for this one. Versus Miss Disease Jr. and Octagon Jr. And Rey Escorpion and Tejano Jr. So this is going to be a incredible match. I mean, this is super stacked, three-way match for the AAA tag titles. And I mean, if you've seen Octagon Jr.'s work lately and Miss Disease Jr.'s work lately, especially to work with Laredo Kid, they are on the next level and they are ready to ascend to superstardom. And so this match, working with, Rey Escorpion, Tejano Jr., Tejano Jr., his dad was obviously a legend, but I think it's fair to call him a legend. Whenever he retires, he's going to be regarded as a legend too. Yep. Same with Phoenix and Pentagon. So to get those guys working with this level of talent is, steel sharpens steel. So it's going to be incredible to see these guys.
I think the two younger guys, this could be their star-making performance because they've got.
I absolutely agree.
They've got those big tentpole teams on either side that can help us just really elevate. This could be the match of the night.
Yes. And then our next match on the card, we have the Copa TripleMania Femenil. We have Fabi Apache versus Lady Maravilla versus Cheek Tormenta versus Lady Shani versus La Hydra versus Hades. So that's another really stacked, really stacked match. And I'm absolutely looking forward to that. Then next we have another trios match where we have Monster Clown, Murder Clown, and Psycho Clown back together, Los Psycho Circus versus Blue Demon Jr., Io del LA Park, and LA Park. Super excited for that match. And then our next match is a match a lot of people are excited for. I know a lot of younger people are buzzing about this. My son's 15, and a lot of his friends that are like Funko collectors, but not even luchador fans, are excited about this match and wanted him to talk to him about it, what he knew. We're going to see the Marvel Funko match between Arcano and Leyenda Americana versus Terror Purpura and Venenoide,
Yeah.
I believe, yeah. And
so high on the card too. That's such a big endorsement.
Yeah. And
well, because there's an endorsement, because there's money tied into it. That's let's just call a spade, because Marvel paid the money for that.
We'll mention that here in a minute, but absolutely, there's a reason they're so high, and sponsorship is important to this TripleMania.
Mm-hmm.
And then our next match, which I was surprised wasn't the main event, is Kenny Omega versus Laredo Kid for the AAA Mega Campeon Championship. If the tag match is not the match of the night, I have a feeling this will be. Kenny Omega has already shown everybody what he can do. People know Kenny Omega. But Laredo Kid, a lot of what he's been doing has been in Mexico, so it's gone under the radar to wider wrestling fans. But I think something like this could get a lot more attention. People are going to be home through the holidays. I think that this is going to be seen as that afterwards it'll be a social media hit. Yeah. I'm deeply excited for this. Laredo Kid is he might be the most exciting independent wrestler on the lucha scene right now in Mexico. Mm-hmm. But we've mentioned, Kenny Omega being champion now, so that is interesting and plays a lot into it. But our main event then will be Pagano versus Chessman, hair versus hair Apuestas match. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to see those cookie sheets that we all love and adore.
Yes.
I was going to say this is a death to cookie sheets match. Do not be a cookie sheet.
I don't even mind. I love cookies, but I'd rather see the match. I'd give them up. I'll give them my cookie sheets.
It's fine. Here, I'll go to the store. I'll get you some more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was also announced that the show will be live streaming on both Facebook Watch and YouTube. However, it will not be airing on Twitch, which has kind of been their previous live stream format and definitely their preferred format for live streaming. So that's interesting. But with Auto Luchas, we saw them go to Facebook Watch, and they must have liked that they're sticking with the Facebook Watch. And it also will not have English commentary. Now, there may be some kind of watch-along, perhaps, with Lucha Central. You could check into it and might give you some information, just see what may pop up with that. But that's a possibility in the near future without giving too much away. And it will be on Saturday, December the 12th at 7 p.m. Central Time / Mexico time. But given the usual AAA and Lucha kind of timelines of starting the show, realistically, the wrestling will start between 7:20 and 7:45. So, that's just kind of the way. Don't rush to start at 7. It would be great if they start at 7, but I have a feeling that that's going to be the case. And this TripleMania, it's missing a lot of things. There is no crowd, so sponsorship is very important. Like Miranda mentioned, Marvel. And so we can assume Marvel is probably going to be one of the biggest sponsors on the show because they're relying on sponsorship to make TripleMania happen. This is their biggest payday of the year traditionally. And so it's, interesting. And it's interesting who's left off of the card. I was excited to see friend of the show, Mr. Iguana, on the card. I was kind of worried if he was going to be on or not. But we're missing that usual big battle royal multi-man match we've come to expect from TripleMania. TripleMania is kind of famous for having a lot of guys on the card.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can only assume that's due to the COVID level in Mexico City and the logistics of the match and the bubble, that AAA is running a bubble with each group of people and paying them to not break that bubble. So I think that the logistics would have been impossible for the TripleMania taping to have occurred with such a large group. But then we also didn't see some of the big names that you would expect, like Taya wasn't announced, and she's the Reina de Reinas champion. Leo Rush and the Colognes, who Hugo Savinovich were saying had been signed to AAA. There's no announcement about them yet. And those are big names you would expect to see at TripleMania, maybe introduced at TripleMania. But then there were also a lot of people, not the bigger stars, but people like Big Mommy, Parca Negra, Drago, Aerostar, Abismo Negro Jr., and many others that have been on the Auto Lucha shows, have been around fairly regularly and working fairly regularly for AAA that you might have expected to see that are not on the show. And so I don't know if this is logistics. There's also the possibility that some of these people could be under masks for the Marvel Funko Lucha Libre match. We don't know who's under the masks yet, obviously. We've had 4 men's wrestlers announced, the 4 characters, the Spider-Man, Venom, Thanos, and Captain America. But it slipped out recently that Kylie Ray, before her retirement, had been planned for a women's role within the Marvel Funko division for AAA. So it's kind of interesting. We know there's at least a women's role there, if not 2. And we know in the figures, the actual Funko Pops themselves, that Captain Marvel got a figure. So she could have been playing the Captain Marvel figure. There's been no confirmation on that, or the Captain Marvel character, rather. But it's all very interesting. I would expect to see Taya because she's a champion, so that's a surprise. And I would be very surprised if they put her under a mask. That just doesn't seem realistic to me. Her hair and her body and everything are just so unique to Taya that it would be hard to hide her under a mask, like you would still know that's Taya because nobody looks like Taya.
Yeah,
she's so unique and special. Yeah, like exactly. Why would you want to hide that with a mask and, or cover up her body with the look? I mean, she's one of my favorite things anybody's ever said to me during wrestling. We were watching Impact. My grandmother said, that Taya sure has a nice body. and she meant that she looked, like a wrestler and like her build, but she was just so impressed with Taya. And so like, I don't see her under a mask.
No.
Leo Rush, I think, could be a possibility under the mask. He kind of moves like a superhero. The Colognes have done some masked work as Los Matadors. I don't remember if Carly was signed or if it was just Primo and Epico.
Just Primo and Epico.
Just Primo and Epico.
Okay, and so they've done some work under masks, but it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. I mean, what are your feelings on it, Miranda? Do you think we're going to see some of these stars under the masks? Do you think we're just seeing them delayed because it's not a big money payday with the lack of crowd?
Yeah, I think it may be more delayed, and also maybe some travel issues because COVID cases are starting to spike both within the United States and even internationally. I think that maybe there was some plans for them to be a part of this at one point, and they just for travel reasons were probably more cautious about who they brought in from the United States, because if you look at that card too, everyone except Kenny on there is primarily residing in Mexico. So
absolutely,
I think it's more related to COVID than it is on the event itself or the desire to want them there, because I agree. TripleMania has always been that event where you have those big mainstream stars come, even if it's just for a crossover. They usually participate. So I think it is more with travel restrictions or cases climbing than it is anything else. And maybe they are so maybe waiting for the new year for that as well. But that's where my gut's leaning.
So I have a theory that goes hand in hand with that. I think that they made announcements they feel comfortable with. To Miranda's point, they announced as many people that are Mexican nationals that they can guarantee to have there.
Yes.
You made mention that many, if not all of them, are bubbling right now, so they can be comfortable that those matches will be happening. But they have said many times that you never know what happens. TripleMania is a big show, and they're going to have surprises. I said that a lot during the press conference. They're saying that on Twitter. So I think that they are talking to some of these other talents, and I think they are wanting to do things with them, but they don't want to announce it because they want to be safe. And then if it works out, then we can have a big surprise at the show, which is part of the TripleMania kind of event as well. So,
yeah. And I don't know how common knowledge the news is, and I don't know how wide the bubble is, but not only has AAA been paying the wrestlers this whole time, they took time off from the Auto Lucha specifically to start a bubble. And they were paying their wrestlers to be in the bubble, to stay at home. They were having their groceries delivered and everything for them, and to maintain that bubble of safety. And I don't know if it was match by match bubble, the entire card bubble, but it makes sense to me that we may see some of these matches taped in advance, and kind of, because how would we know? It would all appear to be live. Yeah. And I think the safest thing to do to secure those matches and make sure that they happen would be to do that, because if everybody's healthy now, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. They, like you say, they've mentioned there's going to be a lot of surprises. Everybody's looking forward to TripleMania. They had just started doing TripleMania Eurasia, and that took place in December. So this kind of hits that date from last year. I don't know. I'm excited for AAA. I'm optimistic about this.
Okay. I have to bring this back up. I meant alluded to it earlier. I too am very optimistic. However, with spiking trends in COVID cases and the possibility that they could go back to red, there is a decent chance that if that announcement happens that they are going back to red, that they may have to do all kinds of last minute hustling to make this show happen.
Yeah.
Very true.
So that's just so those of you who are keeping score at home, that was what I was alluding to earlier when I was talking about the implications on this. TripleMania could have, because they're trying to do at least part of it live. There could be big implications if they go back to red, so everybody's kind of holding their breath right now.
And now that we've seen Laredo Kid wrestle for MLW, I've also wondered if they would be wrestling from a remote location if he and Kenny are in the United States, at the same time. That's kind of
I mean, and the Lucha Bros being on the card as well means that they could do something different with that match too.
There's just, with the empty arena thing, that opens up a lot of possibilities for a more international TripleMania than we've had before, but I don't know if it will be acknowledged or if we will even know. I'm just excited. There's so much that could happen. We can't wait to bring it to you. Again, It's airing on December the 12th at 7 p.m. It's going to be on both YouTube or Facebook Watch. There is a Facebook Watch app for at least the Amazon Fire Stick. I don't know about Roku, but that way you can watch it on your TV. Don't have to watch at home. We're also going to be seeing La Parka 2 inducted to the AAA Hall of Fame. He passed away, obviously. This isn't the LA Park that, was in WCW. This was the second La Parka. We'll see him inducted to the Hall of Fame, streaming live December the 12th. I'm very excited. 7 o'clock Central Time, Mexico time. I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Time.
I believe so. I just you alluded to it earlier, but keep your eyes on the Lucha Central YouTube channel as well. there's definitely going to be something. We don't know what it's going to look like yet, but there will be something happening on the YouTube channel around TripleMania time. So
Yeah, if you really like seeing our our mil percente guapo faces, you wanna get cara to cara with us, like this is your thing, you got to do that.
That's the ticket for you.
Yeah, my face is a selling point, I'm sure.
It really is. It's its own funding source. If
Yes, that's why I'm the dashing one.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is so true. Yes.
I'll show off some masks too from my collection. It'll be a lot of fun.
Very nice.
Yes. Next year, AAA will be contacting you.
Yeah.
They'll be saying,
I hope
hey,
so.
We can do English commentary.
Yeah. We could be their team, and they don't even have to play my music. I'll get up and do my spot, no problem.
Yeah,
I won't fart on the microphone.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
I'll bring some class to this.
yes,
to the English group.
We'll treat it like the high-end entertainment and special event that it is.
Does he also have some CMLL news, real quick to go over?
Yeah, that's actually Brendan's this week.
Okay.
He's got the CMLL. He's got the La Leyenda de Azul. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the one that buys the CMLL pay-per-views on this show. Actually, no, Dusty watches a lot of them too. I gotta give him credit. So there was an undercard. There was several fun matches on the undercard. There's some ladies matches. I was excited to see that they're still using Avispa Dorada, at least in her Instagram account.
Yes. Yeah.
So even though she has retreated to the United States to sequester herself, she's still very much part of the CMLL roster.
And she was in their Wear a Mask campaign as well.
Yeah, that's what they used for her, was the Wear a Mask. Yeah.
Yeah, I started looking more into her work after talking to you, and so I'm excited to see her back at CMLL. She's quickly become one of my favorites.
We will hopefully get a chance to see that, but the world has to get a lot healthier first. We had two things going on in the main event. So all the way at the end of the show, you had Ultimo Guerrero and Euphoria finally paying off a little bit on that feud they set up. They were wrestling for the CMLL Heavyweight Championship. It was stayed surprisingly nice, shall we say? Like nobody was tearing each other's mask off. Nobody was using words that I understand in Spanish. It was a fun match. Ultimo Guerrero did come out on top on that one. That was your main event, but the kind of reason for the pay-per-view was the Leyenda de Azul tournament, which featured Angel de Oro, Diamante Azul, Sanson, Terrible, Forastro, Niebla Roja, Valiente, Cuatrero, Cranio, Blue Panther Jr., Rey Buccaneer.
This is a good lineup.
Right? Rey Buccaneero, Vangelis, Guerrero Maya Jr., Stuka Jr., Cancerobo, and Hefesto. So you had all of that going on. They did not have the traditional battle royal that they do in Cyberneticos. They just started them off instead with Rudos and Technicos, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, with the COVID thing too, the battle royals have changed this year.
They showed previously they weren't afraid to do the battle royal, and they still have like 10 guys on this. So
yeah, it's true. It's just interesting how they didn't seed it in.
Yeah, well, I felt like it had a good flow to it. It got the, and part of the reason I think they wanted to do it this way though is you had Angel de Oro, Niebla Roja, and Terrible kind of restarting the Ingo Benables style of thing, where Terrible was over on the the Rudo side and Angel de Oro and Niebla Roja and the Technicos, but they all actively conspired throughout the whole thing to not eliminate each other. So we had that going on. As a result of all of that conspiracy, Angel de Oro wound up winning.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of big names for him to win over. And he is also Niebla Roja's brother, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so that's, interesting. For two brothers in it, he won.
Yeah, I know, it was very interesting. Anyway, that was all around exciting and interesting. I'll see if I can pull up the eliminations real quick here. Ifesto was out first, Diamante Azul, Cranio, Blue Panther Jr., Vangelis, Rey Bucanero, Guerrero Maya Jr., Stuka, Valiente, Forastro, Niebla Roja finally, Cuatrero, Sanson, and then Terrible, and then finally Diamante Azul, which,
they were the final two.
I'm sure you were excited to see him go all the way to the end, but
I'm actually an Azul fan. I was well pleased, and I bought a mask from him this summer. Big fan, but
was it the Blue Demon style mask or the new mask?
It's the Blue Demon style, but it's got the Kukulkan snake thing on it. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And big fan of his. And I also noticed that it took the Niebla Roja had to get involved and Terrible had to kind of get involved to eliminate Diamante Azul. So
lots of cheatery was involved.
Yeah, he was looking strong.
but they're like I said, it seems like they're trying to rebuild the kind of Ingo Bernable's popularity. And Terrible was technically Ingo Bernable's before Rush and everybody else took off for America. So who knows? That's maybe where they're going, or they may give themselves a different name. But they all made an agreement at the very beginning of the match, got in the middle of the ring, touched elbows, and none of them eliminated each other. And as you pointed out, they helped eliminate Diamante to give the win to Angel de Oro. And that was our CMLL wrap up. They won't be having another pay-per-view until January from the looks of it. So we everybody's kind of taking December off for a lot of things.
Yeah, well, and things are kind of increasing in Mexico too, or at least in Mexico City. So it's kind of a good time to take a break with the holidays and everything else. And
Indeed. Well, we've been talking a lot about this week and the future, but let's go a little bit into the past now.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. That's, it's absolutely right. It's time for This Week in Lucha Libre, and This Week in Lucha History. Be sure to check in at luchacentral.com every single day for This Week in Lucha Libre. And Pep Carrera writes it. There are birthdays, there's information, there's anniversaries, there's match of the days, there's all these amazing videos, everything. It's all about Lucha Libre, and that's at luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre, and it's there literally every day. You can get amazing information. Sometimes the match of the day is not like the history of the day, too, so that lends itself to a lot of interesting choices. This week I actually chose from a match of the day listing rather than the history. This week I chose December the 1st, 2019, when Kenny Omega, who was the champion obviously, wrestled against Dragon Lee for the Lucha Libre AAA Mega Campeon Championship at TripleMania Regia in Monterrey. We had Hijo de Tarantes refereeing the match.
Yes.
It was exciting, and given next week's defense against Laredo Kid, you already know that Kenny Omega won this match, but what an incredible match this was. At the beginning, Kenny was a heel, but the announcers, like the crowd started to turn and they started to chant, Kenny Omega, Kenny Omega. You could hear it. The announcer even said that the Mega Campeon Championship had been born again as the Omega Championship.
Oh.
And yeah, so they were really loving Kenny in the crowd. The whole match was extremely impressive physically and athletically. It was exactly what you'd expect when you think that Kenny Omega and Dragon Lee were showing up to do a match. But to a degree, I also felt like it was kind of the Kenny Omega greatest hits. But sometimes you want those greatest hits. The camera work detracted from this match a bit for me. The camera work wasn't as great as it could have been. But otherwise, this is a can't miss match for me. And it's on YouTube. It was the match of the day. It's on the Lucha Central YouTube. You can find it easily. I highly encourage everyone to go and check this match out soon to get yourself ready for TripleMania. It's really cool to see heel Kenny Omega in Mexico, and now that he's much more of a heel in America, it'll be interesting to see how that Rudo persona plays out for AAA. Yeah, so excited about this match. What did you choose this week, Brendan?
This week I chose November the 30th, 2007, where Averno won the NWA World Middleweight Championship for the second time in his career after beating then Mystico. Now we know him as Caristico, and possibly Mystices if you pay attention at times, but Mystico. This was at Arena Mexico. This is a matchup of two guys that I really enjoy watching wrestling. And character-wise, this is kind of the ultimate story because Mystico is the monk or the prodigy of a monk who goes around the world defeating the demons, and Averno is the literal incarnation of hell. So, how can you not be emotionally invested in that?
Yeah, like that's awesome.
So, I mean, I saw that on the list and I was like, I am on board. Unfortunately, I didn't, it was not a match of the day, so I had to go hunting for clips and only found clips. It is, the clips are every bit as promising as I expect it to be. Verno, when he was wearing the mask, was more of a high flyer, but still willing to cut the rules, and Mystico at the time was kind of redefining what the high flyers in Mexico looked like. And, I mean, you can't go too far wrong with this match. So I was very excited to see it on there.
Yeah. Very cool.
Miranda, what did you wind up finding this week?
Yes, so I picked December 4th, 2019, which is how much things change in a year, where Kyra won the second edition of the Lucha Capital Women's Tournament
cool.
after beating Lady Shani and Big Mommy in a triple threat match. And just when I saw these three names in the same match, I really wanted to watch this. And it started off really funny as far as the comedy from Big Mommy, and seeing it in a live crowd again, even though, she's wrestled in 2020, just seeing what it really looks like in a crowd again is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of arguing with Kyra and Big Mommy before the match, with the customary photo prior to that. Kyra was trying to push Big Mommy out of the way, but Big Mommy was like, nah, she just pieced out at the bottom of right underneath the championship, like can't get rid of her. But, the beginning of the match had Lady Shani and Kyra teaming up, to address the size of Big Mommy. But she showing off her flexibility with, a big split, kind of a matrix backflip motion at one point. And so again, not only her comedy shined, but her flexibility, of someone of her size. There was a beautiful crossbody by Lady Shani from the top rope, and a great series of llaves from Lady Shani really throughout the match. The match ended with Kyra having a big drop kick to Big Mommy as she's sitting down on the post, and really just knocking her out and being able to roll her up for the pin. And so the dynamic between all these three women in the match was not only entertaining, but as far as the comedy side and the dynamics, but overall the wrestling, especially I would say with Kyra and Lady Shani, very much back and forth throughout the entirety of it. There was a good sequence too where Lady Mommy or Big Mommy was out of the ring, and we really just got to see a very traditional, fantastic series of moves between Lady Shani and Kyra. So I liked it a lot. The match itself was not very long, but you stay engaged throughout the whole thing. And the crowd, again, too, was great to see and hear them because it just feels so different now. But they loved, a lot of competing chants for Lady Shani and Big Mommy, especially in the beginning. So it's if you just want something kind of upbeat and uplifting, but a fantastic lucha match as well, this is one to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was one of their early forays into Facebook, if not the first. So I got really excited watching that format and kind of, I like destination television where I have to tune in every week.
I do too. Yeah, I like the appointment viewing like that. I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
There's something so classic about it, and especially during COVID and all, like right now, like I've really started watching a lot of TV on a regular schedule like that, especially wrestling. It's kind of turned into my comfort and my my way of escaping.
Yeah. Well, if you are looking for something else to do, Brendan, I think you can let our listeners know, well, where can they go for their Lucha Libre news?
Why, you can go to luchacentral.com, of course. There's so many things there. Let's just go right into this. If you're listening to listening to me talk about luchacentral.com right now, and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's time to do it. luchacentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. A place to have your voices heard, from weekly polls to annual awards, seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And on top of all of this, it's free. I'm going to say it again. It's free.
Oh, such a good deal.
So you can go back and spend your money on other things that are important to you and still have lots of amazing Lucha Libre in your life. luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.
Free for free.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you take free?
Do you like free? Then go to luchacentral.com.
Yeah.
So now go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, spend your money on Lucha gear, save your money at Lucha Central.
Yeah, there you go.
Tag it.
He's created a slogan for us.
Yep. I was going to say, we made it to towards the end of the show, but before we do that, this is really, we alluded to it throughout the beginning, in the middle, Impact Wrestling. I will go over what happened this week. Before then, we just got the groundbreaking news about next week. But there's some interesting developments that happened this week, which was the main event of this week's Impact Wrestling on Access TV's Willie Mack versus Chris Bay. And the interesting aspect about this match is, first, I felt like we got classic Willie Mack back in form. I've been adamant how I have not liked his program and matches with Moose as of recently. And in this match, we got the Willie Mack that we know and love, with the personality, with the enthusiasm, with the mobility around the ring, all of that. And of course, Chris Bay looking fantastic as always. This really came from a series of interactions over the past few weeks where Chris Bay has tried to insert himself into the title picture with Rich Swann. And, Rich wanting to really back up his boy Willie Mack. Willie Mack coming in, calling Chris Bay a clown, and Chris Bay did not like that. So that's pretty much how we got to this week's main event. But an interesting development that occurred is that Willie Mack did win, but we did have a series of people kind of interject themselves towards the end of the match, including Moose, who we still see as somewhat having a program with Willie Mack, and Rich Swann coming out to help Willie Mack. But in that, Chris Bay attacked Rich Swann, and there was a very poignant moment towards the end of Impact where we saw Chris Bay with the Impact World Championship, holding that high in the middle of the ring. And so that's something that I think a lot of fans were pretty excited to see. Chris has been alluding to that in backstage promos and work with Rich Swann, but this was really the first time we physically saw what Chris Bay as Impact World Champion would look like. And with that, Impact did announce that for Final Resolution, which is going to be exclusive pay-per-view for the Impact Plus app, which is also going to be occurring on December 12th, we will see Chris Bay challenge Rich Swann for the Impact World Championship. So,
oh wow, I want that match right now. That's going to be so good. Impact is really bringing it right now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I have to ask now because of all the other excitement. Have they announced the full card for that?
They have not announced the full card for Final Resolution. There are a few additional matches that they will have. I believe one of them is going to be Carl Anderson versus Ethan Page. And next week will be the final match before Final Resolution. So we will see what they build up to. But yeah, right now, those are the only two matches that have been announced.
So with the big AEW cross promotion that people have been speculating ever since Wednesday night about dream matchups that they can see with these two companies working in cooperation, we could legitimately see some big matches on there, including, I'm going to just throw out one of my dreams there, the Lucha Bros versus the North.
Yes.
Right?
So good. And the Motor City Machine Guns versus Top Flight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or the Young Bucks even, the
Young Bucks have such a history with Impact,
They do, I would love to see some of this.
Yeah, and you know what? They did allude to it a little bit. So this week during the Impact match of the night, as far as usually they'll play an older match from a previous pay-per-view. So the flashback match of the night was the Motor City Machine Guns versus Generation Me. That was something that they aired this Tuesday. So that was before what we got on Wednesday. And the flashback match of the week has always had some ties into current storylines and things like that.
Yeah.
So it does seem like Impact was alluding to this way before, and not way, but at least 24 hours before what we got at the end of AEW Dynamite. So it will be interesting. Now, also what we're getting next week is the final first round match in the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament. Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary will be going up against Deonna Purrazzo and Kimber Lee. The winners of this match will advance to the semifinals of the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament and get one step closer to be crowned the new Knockouts Tag Team title holders. So we're going to see Taya Valkyrie in action. But as you guys had mentioned earlier too, Taya had some interesting thoughts on the announcement of Kenny Omega showing up on Impact.
Yes, she did. And she basically said, he's the Lucha Libre Mega Champion. I'm the Lucha Libre Reina de Reinas Champion. This just makes sense, And then she said, just a friendly reminder of that. Let's see what happens this Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And beyond the obvious, they both came up in the Winnipeg area before they went other places to become wrestlers, but they both got their start in the same area. So there's a lot going on that we could see Taya with Kenny in ways you wouldn't expect, because even though they're obviously very different people, they came from the same small area. And so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for Taya. That's actually one of the things I'm most excited about with Impact, is to see how this evolves for Kenny and Taya. And beyond Impact, what it ultimately means for Taya. Impact, she has done a lot there, but I feel like she's done everything she can. And so it'll be interesting to see what this association with Kenny leads to, if we see her adding some much needed depth to the AEW women's roster. Just be exciting.
So, and then just more speculation here that just popped into my head. Maybe AAA didn't announce a thing with Taya because they're waiting for Tuesday to happen.
Yeah, that would be excellent. I mean, I would love to see a faction with Taya and Kenny, because we've seen her as Aruda, and she is the very best, is Aruda, in my opinion. Like, that's her best work.
That's where she's her A game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it'll be brilliant.
Yeah. And of course, the breaking news as far as what to expect on Impact next week. Kenny Omega, Don Callis called it at the end of Dynamite this week, when they were both running out into the car, that we are going to see them on Impact this coming Tuesday. Really, really unprecedented. I don't know. I don't think really anyone knows what it's going to look like. I have some reservations myself. I don't know if we're actually going to see Kenny Omega in the Impact Zone. It may be something more pre-recorded backstage, but it's going to air on Impact, which is still going to be huge for Impact Wrestling. But if they even decide to take it a step further and have Kenny Omega step into the Impact Zone, I mean, that is going to be historic. So, I mean, on top of Impact producing a quality product every week, now you have one of the biggest crossovers to happen in pro wrestling, in the past, almost 20 years.
Yeah, to give fans a perspective on that, the last and only time this has happened with two major companies like this, where cross-pollinating like that, was when WCW had officially been bought, and you had Shane McMahon appearing on both Nitro and Raw on the same night. That's the last time you had anything like that. And then that ended with that historic "No Dad, I bought WCW."
Yeah, the contract says McMahon, but it's signed Shane.
Hopefully we get more clarification on what Don Callis' role is in all of this, because we did, get that first taste.
We're not getting that.
A little bit of something about Don Callis' role, because it was a surprise to have him on commentary. And was it before Full Gear? What was the paper? I forget what the paper. He'd been on commentary before for AEW, and to see him back again on Dynamite, I mean, it's a very big deal. But again, we didn't have kind of the same introduction as we did, say, for like a Thunder Rosa when she came in to represent the NWA. This is also very different, because you've had Thunder Rosa come in and represent the NWA. You have not seen an AEW talent going to another promotion. So, it's too.
But again, at that full gear media scrum, Tony Khan did say that he's building relationships, and he didn't say it out loud, but the implication there is relationships are two ways. So, I don't know what's cooked up in that crazy little brain of his, but it looks like it's history making for sure.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So, I mean, things are culminating for Impact one way or another to December 12th, whether that's Final Resolution, maybe some appearances we're going to see at TripleMania. Who knows? But December 12th already is looking to be a stacked day in wrestling. So, and of course, we will be back next week to let you know everything that happened on Impact that then bled into Dynamite, that bled into something else, because, hey, This is what it seems like it's happening.
This is wrestling in 2021. I'm not calling that 2020 for this.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of what next year is going to look like, and I'm excited for this going into next year.
Well, in our final news story of this episode, NWA premiered Shockwave this week.
Yeah.
Long awaited after a hiatus of NWA Power and that being shut down due to the COVID situation. But it does seem like Shockwave is not necessarily new content thus far, but it's just a collection of some previous matches that have already been filmed for the United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live. So that's kind of an interesting spin. It's not something that they announced when Shockwave first came. They just stated that it was matches that we hadn't seen before. Brendan, I'm curious on your thoughts on this. As both an avid kind of UWN and NWA fan, your thoughts on the structure of Shockwave?
So, what I think, so first off, I'm going to set this up, preface this by talking about what the United Wrestling Network is doing. They've announced pretty formally that they're taking the next 3 weeks off. So, they're looking at letting their wrestlers kind of refresh and enjoy the holidays and then starting up again. But they're not canceling their spots. They're just going to show us stuff that happened throughout the year.
Cool.
So I feel like what they're doing, what the NWA is doing by showing us all of these things that are on Primetime Live, that happened on Primetime Live, is that they are getting NWA fans who may not have bought in on the Primetime Live segments to kind of have an opportunity to get back up to speed as they work their way into January, when all of this stuff will start shooting again. It sounds like they're fairly invested in having the Thunder Studios and the United Wrestling Network cooperation still going on. I don't know if they're going to have something that takes place in their own studio that they were using for Power previously, but my speculation says that if you've got this arrangement for this television space that is already COVID prepped to make use of that. So I feel like they're trying to get NWA fans back on board, back on the hype train, used to tuning in on Tuesdays, where there's now like 14 hours of wrestling to watch.
Yeah. Ton of wrestling.
Mondays, guys. Mondays. I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shift the schedule around a little
Mondays.
And yeah, so you can, they can catch up with what's going on. They can see the matches. They can know that the two belts have changed hands, and then be ready for a running start come January when probably live entertainment starts happening again. Yeah. That's my theory. I get to talk about it because I said this during the call, and everybody thought that sounded like it made sense.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and speaking of what's going to replay next week, we are going to be able to see the match between Thunder Rosa and Priscilla Kelly that aired earlier this year with the United Wrestling Network Primetime Live. So if you'd like to relive that match, you can watch that on next week's NWA Shockwave.
And I said it when we talked about it the first time, but I liked this one better than the Serena Deeb match. So if you saw,
yeah, I did too.
If you saw the Thunder Rosa Serena Deeb match that was on Dynamite and you didn't see this one, this is your chance to see it for free. So go get it.
Yeah, this is one of Thunder Rosa's best matches this year, and it's incredible. Like Brendan said, it's free, and you absolutely need to check it out. Like this, if you love Thunder Rosa, you want to see this. It flew under the radar because it was a smaller promotion. It was harder to see, obviously, than AEW, but now that it's out there, I think it's going to be a very big deal.
Also, on the week off while we were enjoying our turkey that week, the Primetime Live had a good match with Lio Rush and Adrian Quest. So all of the Lucha fans that have been watching Primetime or been on the fence about it, look for this one. I mean, it's Adrian Quest. If you aren't overly aware of how good he is yet, this match will open your eyes to it, because Lio Rush is a good is a good counterpoint, and you have two young, fast guys that are willing to do a lot of crazy things in that ring to entertain you. So there wasn't a lot of other lucha content on that show, but this one kind of makes up for lost time. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool. And that does it for this week's Lucha Central Weekly podcast. Don't forget to check out luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. You can also follow Lucha Central on Facebook and Instagram at Lucha Central and on Twitter at luchacentralcom. And of course, you got to check out the YouTube page where you can find a variety of interviews and previous matches. You can catch a lot of the great interviews that Denise Salcedo does with wrestlers from all over. She has a fantastic interview with Shotzi Blackheart that was just posted not too long ago. And we talked about the amazing performance that she's had this week and also what to expect from her from War Games. So that's just one of many, many interviews and special content that you can find on the Lucha Central YouTube page. And while you're at it, well, you can also follow us on social media. Dusty, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram at Dusty Murphy, all one word. And I am at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy. Again, all one word.
And Brendan, where can our listeners find you?
I am 321 T-shirt guy. T-shirt is all spelled out. I am on the Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I actually logged in several times this week, although I haven't gotten any requests over there or any recommendations, so I still I'm not obligated yet. And on Twitter, 321 T-shirt guy. Real quick, on that, I've been on the show. The Black Label Pro announced that they are putting up a free match on their YouTube page, which is Rey Horus versus Black Taurus. So I just tweeted that out. So anybody who wants to find the link to that match on Black Label Pro's YouTube page, just go to my Twitter channel, talk to me, then send your messages for Miranda to through me. Mm-hmm. As she's about to tell you, I'm the Twitter guy, not.
Yeah.
He's also T-shirt guy on Twitter.
Yeah, he's our Twitter guy and our T-shirt guy.
That's right.
Yeah,
unless they're soft style, and that's yours, Miranda.
That's
She's the queen of the soft style. Tell us where we can find you on social media.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at the #Miranda, spelled out, and on Facebook, / the #Miranda. So, yes, Brendan is our Twitter guy. And I'd say Dusty and I are pretty up to date on Instagram. So if you.
Yes, I definitely love Instagram. It's my preferred social medias.
Agreed. So feel free to follow us there. Leave us some comments on what you like about the show, suggestions, ideas. We are still looking for a trio's name. I think eventually we just have to narrow it down and actually buckle down and choose one. We've had some great suggestions in the past, and I think we're going to close the window fairly soon. So
sometime in 2021.
Yeah.
We'll narrow it down.
we would love to hear your comments and constructive criticism. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you want more of. Let us know what you want less of. We would love to hear that. So get in touch.
And then, as always, too, indie shows. Please let us know that you're out there. We'll watch it and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We are all avid supporters of independent wrestling. We've had involvement with independent wrestling. We've gone to independent wrestling shows. It is something we all truly support. So feel free to reach out to us to let us know about Lucha Libre independent wrestling shows, matches that we can find, things of that sort. And also, if you are listening to this on, say, one of your favorite podcast streaming platforms like Google, iTunes, Spotify, Speaker, Podbay, iHeartRadio, leave us a 5-star review. Let us know what you like. You can also subscribe, and that way you get notifications when episodes of this podcast drop. And you can leave us a review. You can let us know what you like about the show, things that you enjoy, enjoy, as Dusty mentioned, maybe things you don't like it. That's okay. We got some thick skin. We could take it.
Absolutely.
But you gotta let us know in order for us to know. So, I know we left you with a lot of homework assignments to do, but we're going to give you a whole week to do it. So make sure that you do all of the following, all of the subscribing, all of that, and stay in tune with what's happening with luchacentral.com and the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. So for Dashing Dusty Murphy and Brendan Barr, I'm Miranda Morales. Thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode, and we will be back next week.
Respetable público, lucharán a 2 de 3